The eyes of Texas were upon us yesterday, and so we just decided to go ahead and dot both those eyes.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, welcome back into the Locked On Bama AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Bama Online's Jimmy Stein. That's him. And I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thank you all for making us your first listen every single day. Jimmy, yesterday, the basketball team just decided to open up a can on Texas, and they just smoked them like a brisket. I mean, the game was, it was 7-2 Texas early, and I was thinking, again, 7-2 in a basketball game, and if you're worried, you got a problem, and so that's me. But and then Alabama just took it to them. I mean, just hit them in the chin. They were the stats from this game are kind of unbelievable. We out rebounded them 41-25. We were 18 of 20 from the free throw line. You're like, well, that's not that huge of a deal. It's a huge deal for us. Mm-hmm. There are a bunch of teams that, 18 of 20, they're like, yeah, I can see that. I hadn't seen us get close to 18 of 20. Maybe we have. I'm not going back and looking. I'm going to run with what I got on this sheet. 17 of 29 from beyond the arc is the most three-pointers we've made all year. It's the seventh time.
Most three-pointers any SEC team has made all year.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was any SEC. I knew it was us. I didn't know it was any SEC.
I think that's right.
I can believe it. I mean, who would it be besides us? I mean, nobody shoots them like we do. So then 34 of 55 overall. Jared Stevenson with a career high. Just a lot to like. Grant wins the hard hat. Mo Diabate bangs a couple of threes in. It's not the prettiest thing you've ever seen, but it's effective. And what it means is you got to come guard him out there. Mm-hmm. And the problem with guarding him out there is he's gotten so good at backing you down because usually there's somebody a little smaller on him. And he just backs you down and just puts it in. 4 blocks to 1 block for Texas. The one thing, if you want to bring up a negative, okay, we had 17 turnovers. Not good. But that's sort of become what we are. And we're going to have to definitely cut that down against Auburn, I think, because Auburn feasts on those live ball turnovers where they can get out in transition. So if we're going to turn it over, let's turn it over where it's a dead ball thing. But, no real foul trouble that I saw. Darian Reed was out again, which is mildly concerning. But, overall, this team, you hate to say they're peaking right now because you want them to peak a little later, but
right.
This to me is the closest we've seen to this team's ceiling was last night.
Yeah, for me, it's I know exactly how good this team is and how good they can be. I'm the one that's been saying, Luke, I think they might be the best team in the country. They might win the national championship. We've never backed off of that. That was something we said before the season started. And now that we've seen them in action over this many games, I haven't backed off any of that. We may win the national championship. This may be the best team in the country. Yet I look at our schedule and these road games, and I'm like, oh gosh, we just go 1-1 at Arkansas and at Texas. That would be great. I keep trying to lower, I guess, my own expectations just based on this can't really be happening, right? We can't be that good. And then we just easily win at Texas, who is a very good team. And Trey Johnson is just a ridiculously good, talented player. Is going to have a long, great NBA career. And while he was effective against Alabama, it obviously didn't affect the final score very much with Alabama winning in blowout fashion. But Alabama and Auburn, give them some credit too for winning at Nashville. They did their part in setting up just this monster game. I'm sure we'll spend tomorrow's show probably spending half the show just previewing Alabama-Auburn. But what a great performance again. I don't know how many times, Luke, I've said, that might have been the best they've played all year. I've probably said that 10 times now, if not more. Another great win. And what I like most about, if I could pick one thing, well, okay, 2 things. Jared Stevenson finally being productive. Like we always knew, he was so capable of this, and it was just a matter of time. And secondly, I love how Grant Nelson didn't have the best game scoring. He almost struggled a little bit putting the ball in the basket, yet won the hard hat as further evidence and proof that you don't have to score to help your ball team win the game, because winning the game is all that matters. And you can do so many things to help your team win, even if you're not scoring, which is ironically why Jared Stevenson has been in the lineup and played as many minutes, because he does a lot of things to help the team win the game, even when he's not scoring. Yeah, mute. It's a.
There it is. All right. I think when we got,
You're excited.
I think when we got him, we were expecting him to be like, okay, that's going to be our leading scorer, a couple years ago. And, every however long he's here. And it hadn't turned out that way. So I think for his development, I think this is wonderful. Like for him realizing, okay, maybe I'm not the best scorer on this squad, and maybe I won't be a scorer at the next level or whatever, but here's what I can do to help. And because he does have a lot of other attributes. There are some times still, like there was one nice offensive rebound he had last night, and he sort of baby giraffe his way into stumbling and fumbling, and he didn't get the putback. And I was thinking, okay, that's okay. Like right now, I mean, obviously, I think everything with Grant is a learning process. I feel like he's come a long way. Every now and again, it looks like he has lack of coordination, but overall, he's an incredible athlete, and winning the hard hat's a big deal for him. Anytime you win the Mo Diabate Lifetime Achievement Hard Hat Award, it's a big deal. Anytime somebody not named Mo Diabate wins it, it's a big deal.
That is news.
There was a couple of times in there, I know LeBaron Philon, who had a pretty good game. He had like 15 points. And
loved his energy last night. Good Lord.
Well, he got after a one big dunk, but I think he got a steal, and he took it all the way in, and it was like, uh-oh. And Texas got the ball right back and took it down, I think maybe for a layup or a dunk or something. And I'm not mad about it. All I'm saying is when I saw that, I was thinking, okay, you can't do that that's what you can't do against Auburn.
Philon plays with the energy of a 5'9" guy.
He does.
It's almost like you forget that he's like 6'3", I think. I mean, because he's playing like a 5'9" guy out there, one of those energizer bunnies that never slows down, that plays twice as fast and twice as hard as everyone on the court. And you're like, well, Philon, he must be like 5'10". No, he's 6'3" and headed to the NBA.
Yeah, and he probably is headed to the NBA. And that's unfortunate because I certainly would love to have him back. But, part of me was thinking last night, hey, Jared, slow down a little bit because I want you to come back too. I mean, I know some people have been so quick to like boot him off the team and like, why is he starting? Look, he's starting to come around a little bit. He had 22 last night, and his shot was pretty, and he was hitting open shots. And we're really, really happy for him finally coming around. The ironic thing, the three-pointers, we were 17 of 29. Mark Sears was 2 of 5. So, I mean, again, not bad. But at the same time, he missed 3 of those. And then Chris Youngblood, who's been on fire, was 1 of 3. So he missed 2 of those. So there's 5 of your misses coming from arguably 2 of your top 3 shooters from beyond the arc. I would put Aiden Holloway in that category. And he missed 3. He was 3 of 6. But I want Aiden Holloway shooting at all times. I thought for all the grief the announcers have taken online, and we'll get to that in a second, and they should have, I don't know if it was Carl Ravitch or Jimmy Dykes that pointed out, hey, y'all, Aiden Holloway's found his home. I mean, y'all, everybody can make fun of him, and he didn't break out with Auburn last year. There's no doubt he didn't have a great year. He was okay. But he's found his place. And what I love to watch him do.
It's the system. It's not Alabama versus Auburn so much as the system.
It might be Alabama Auburn, though, Jimmy. It might be. He's just more comfortable there.
Well, I attribute it to the system, not too much order versus chimes.
But there may be Alabama and Auburn they're both universities. They're very different places.
That is correct.
I don't know that Dylan Cardwell or Janai Broome would be a tremendous fit at Alabama because of personality. Maybe not. I'm not saying that's bad one way or the other. I'm just saying some people are more Aub-centric, some people are more Bama-centric, and some people it doesn't matter where they are. but I don't know for a fact that is just the system that's allowing Aiden Holloway to be better. He may just be more comfortable. And, it may be another thing. It may be that he's a year older. I don't know. But I think everybody attributing to the system is overlooking, hey, there may be some external factors that are at play.
Well, he's got teammates at Alabama who are also comfortable with the system. So
True.
he's got good chemistry with these guys because they're all comfortable playing Nate's way. Where maybe at Auburn, and since Holloway was such a poor fit and was and therefore wasn't, wasn't in alignment with his teammates. But hey, Auburn's obviously a good program right now. I mean,
we'll talk about them a lot.
That's obvious to anyone that knows the difference between wins and losses.
We got to say this. And I know that there'll be some Auburn people that are like, I just love that it gets under your skin. What the heck was ESPN doing showing a kick six moment for last night?
They still do. And they did. To me, it was, they still did the breakdown of Alabama, Texas. They showed Alabama beating Texas in 2009 and Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts, from the Xavier Worthy, who had a nice Super Bowl in the loss.
That makes sense, though.
I guess because it's Alabama and Texas, but I just think Alabama basketball has achieved so much under Nate Oates that, really we don't need to talk about football every time Alabama basketball is on TV.
And that's not our fault. People say that all the time about SEC schools that aren't Kentucky, like, well, y'all run off good basketball coaches because you talk football all the time. We didn't want you to bring that up. Texas didn't. Auburn's not in this game. What did
Gravedigger achieve equal time with the kick six? And I don't know that it's equal, but it's close. Well,
why would you show something that? And again, I do think ESPN did that purposefully to tick Alabama fans off, to be like, okay, maybe even ramp up the drama. But really, I'm not ticked off as I am offended that, like, hey, man, I mean, just let our basketball team speak for itself. And then Carl Ravitch doubled down on something. I think it was Archie Miller the other day for wherever the heck he coaches, was like, the SEC is like 40-40 since they started conference play. And then Carl Ravitch said the SEC is only 82-82 since conference play. Oof. Yes, Carl, because the conference plays each other. They will be 500 mathematically for the rest of time. Overall, the history of the SEC.
Conference games, when conference games, when the conference team picks up a win, the conference is also picking up a loss. It's sort of like A-Day.
It was so dumb.
It's like winning. Alabama has won A-Day. Yeah, they lost too.
All right, let me tell you about Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. And I swear that's true. Like, I cleaned up my office recently. It's back to a mess, but you know what I mean. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new start to the year, Wayfair is everything you need, all within budget. I'm currently looking for furniture, and their huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit my style and budget. My favorite part, the free and hassle-free delivery, even for larger items. Wayfair's site was so easy to navigate, and I found everything I need in no time. It's awesome. Go Wayfair.com, Wayfair.com. You can just type in Wayfair in Google if you want to. That's easy too. But you can also just go to Wayfair, Wayfair.com. Every style, every home, Wayfair going to get you handled, bro. I don't think that's their official tagline, but who knows after today.
Maybe Wayfair's tagline should be not just fair, but Wayfair.
It's not actually. That's not bad.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe I was a Madison Avenue guy. We'll never know.
But, I think
I've never seen Mad Men.
When you're selling stuff
the other day, you seen Mad Men?
No, I didn't really watch a lot of it.
Yeah, I just taped the whole series the other day, so I'm going to start on it soon.
On your VCR?
I hear good things.
You taped the whole thing?
Well, yeah, on YouTube TV, you can do that. You can say, I want to tape, Mad Men comes up, and it just tapes it automatically if it comes on anywhere. And then it lines up the seasons for you. It's pretty amazing. YouTube TV, I love it, but gosh, the navigation is sometimes.
The navigation stinks. But you say record it. Don't say tape it, because tape it is what we did with VCRs and cassettes. And
yeah, I guess so.
That's what I'm trying to get at. All right, let's talk about some of these 5 stars that are trending via over there at On 3. Your buddy, who is it? Wilt Fong?
Wilt Fong. The Wilt Bomb, the Fong Bomb guy. No, he's good. He's an asset to On 3 for sure.
My brother and I were just laughing this morning about that showed the movie The Big Short, where Ryan Gosling goes in there and has this big meeting.
Love that movie.
And they're like, and he's telling all the people like Steve Carell and other people there, he's like, yeah, I'm certain about my math. Look at this guy. And he points over like this Asian guy. And he's like, look at him. Do you notice anything about him? And he was like, he doesn't even speak English. And he won first in the mathematics contest in China. And the guy turns around and goes, like, sort of a secondary shot of him, and goes, well, I am Chinese, but I was born in America and I won second place in that contest. And I speak fluent English, obviously. You know, it was sort of weird. Like, but why the heck were we talking about that?
I don't know. It had something to do with Steve Wiltfong and this 5-star thing we're about to talk about. I have no idea what the connection is. I was just glad to hear the story because I love The Big Short. I thought that was
Big Short.
That movie was fantastic. There needs to be more movies like The Big Short, which did a great job of explaining a complicated thing and made it easy for a huge audience to understand.
It's a lot like this podcast does with Alabama sports. And
yeah, we make a simple thing complicated. We make a simple thing complicated.
Jackson, I said it was like it. I didn't say it was exact. Jackson Cantwell has pretty much eliminated Alabama, but Emmanuel.
I wouldn't go that far, but I do agree that Alabama's not a favorite.
Okay. Emmanuel Iheanacho. Am I saying that correctly?
No, you're not. And don't ask me how to say it either. The big 5-star tackle from like Baltimore. That's the guy. That's how I'm referring to him until Alabama is clearly either in the driver's seat or top 2. I'll learn how to say the name then. Until then, I'm going to say, hey, guys, there's this slam dunk 5-star plus guy who's a huge tackle from Baltimore. That's him. Or Michael. We could call him Michael, I think.
He does. He apparently has Oregon at the top, Georgia right behind there, and then Bama, Penn State, and Maryland. I'm going to go ahead and say this out loud. I'm not really expecting our getting like this massive offensive line class again. I think we could get a couple of good offensive linemen, but not like an offensive line class like we got this last year. Then there's Jared Curtis, who, Steve Wiltfong is saying that Oregon's still trending here, but Alabama's certainly in the discussion.
Well, wait, Phil, about Curtis real quick. Alabama signed Keelan Russell a year ago.
Yep.
I mean, I know everyone wants to be excited and optimistic about everything, but just mark me down for following recruiting for as long as I have. I'm never going to be optimistic about signing a big-time quarterback in the class right after we signed a quarterback in the magnitude of Keelan Russell. It just doesn't happen enough unless that guy's got some sort of ties to Alabama like a Brody Croyle did. I've just never been optimistic about that. And Jared Curtis is a fantastic quarterback.
And then there's Tristan Keys. There's been a lot of talk about him recently from Mississippi. He has Alabama, Miami, and Tennessee on top, according to Wilt Fong. He thinks the Vols have the advantage right now, which I found weird because I don't think anybody else has said that.
I'm sure Steve's information is going to be correct. I mean, no one needs to doubt where Steve gets his information. He's not wildly guessing. He's not anti-Bama or anything like that. I was a little disappointed, like you, Luke. That's one where I was disappointed to read that. Now, that doesn't mean he's signing with Tennessee. That doesn't mean he's not going to go to Alabama. Wiltfong's not saying that. He admits these are premature guesses. But, I was a little disappointing because that's one, I think, of all the guys you've gone over so far, Luke, Tristan Keys is the first one you got to where I'm like, now, Alabama's got a real shot here.
Well, they got a real shot at this next one, and he thinks Alabama's got the lead, and that's Brandon Arrington, who's number 1 athlete. We've talked about him. No need to go into a bunch because we have discussed him, but he's from California, super athlete, and he loved his visit to Alabama, so you got to feel good about that.
Yeah, Brandon Arrington is a top target for Alabama. This is a 5. And by the way, when we say 5-star at this juncture, think how good these kids have to be. Look, the way On 3 does this, and I love it. It's the smart way to do it. On 3 only has 32 5-stars, but right now they've only got about 6 or 8 or 10. I mean, because what they don't want to do, and gosh, I love this policy so much. What they don't want to do is tell everybody, okay, we think this kid's a 5-star, and then they redo the rankings and the kid no longer has his 5th star. No, they want the 5-star to have some permanency to it. So they're only giving 5 stars to, we just flat out know this is a top 32 kid in this class. So there's only about 10 of these guys so far. There will be 32 by the end of the 2026 cycle. But that's how good these are the slam dunk best prospects in this class nationally that have been identified so far. That's how good Brandon Arrington is. The fact that he's from California, loves Alabama, he's just following that DB pipeline. Luke, Damani, Zabian, Chuck McDonald, Dijon Lee, Brandon Arrington will be the 5th one in that group.
And there's Tank Jones, Anthony Jones out of Mobile. Now, he does say this is one of the hardest ones to predict early. He said, but I'll go with Alabama, knowing that A&M and Auburn and Florida and Miami and Oregon and Vandy are all on Bama's tail. But I appreciate his saying this, because if you do go to an Auburn board, they feel like Anthony Jones is already in the bag for him, and I don't believe that at all.
Will Alabama, I got some inside scoop here. Scoop's not the right word, but Tank Jones is an Alabama guy. The family, dad, this is an Alabama natural guy. But this is 2025. I'm a Braves fan, but if the Twins want to pay me $500,000 to start rooting for the Twins, go Twins.
Although the Twins won't be around long with that type of
yeah, if they're paying the fans $500,000 or so to root for the team, boy, they would be out yanking the Yankees for sure. But I just bring it a point to say, fandom only goes so far. We all know that, because we all have our own financial interests. Not to mention, there's fit and coaching and scheme. Front 7 guys is a lot about schematic fit. That's a factor. What position is he going to play at this school versus what position is he going to play at this school? That's a thing for front 7 guys like Tank. But there is a natural Alabama fandom here. I predict today, I predict that wins out. I would say Tank Jones to Alabama today. But this one's going to be dramatic.
So one thing that it didn't dawn on me, because it makes it seem like I came up with this, but Coach DeBoer said Monday when I was at the Yay Alabama Red Elephant, whatever thing it was, he said spring ball starts in 3 weeks. And now it's Wednesday, so now it starts in about 2.5 weeks.
19 days.
So that's pretty amazing.
It's very exciting. That's the 2025 football team. There's only about 4 or 5 guys that are on this team that won't be there. So this is the 2025 football team that's going to start practicing 19 days from now, including the quarterback situation, which is fascinating. And Keelan, these exciting freshmen joining our roster. And man, if you're not fired up about that, you just don't love football. And I know everyone listening to this show loves football, or you wouldn't be listening to the show.
I was also, and again, nobody has called me and told me I overstepped my bounds from that meeting. And so I don't think I am here either. I was not encouraged. I was motivated to tell y'all the one thing I didn't want to say because I thought it was too much. And he was like, that's not too much. And that is when Greg Byrne was talking about the Iron Bowl of basketball this weekend. He said, might be the toughest ticket that anybody's ever asked for since he's been there. He said, in any sport. I don't think that's out of bounds talking. I just wanted to let y'all know that it's a big positive for the basketball squad. And also, look, if you're a football head out there and you're like, well, basketball seats fewer people and whatever. There's some people who are just so pro football they can't embrace basketball. I understand. I don't understand it, but I know it's out there. And so I'm just saying that everybody should be super happy that's happening.
I agree. Greg Byrne doesn't need my support, but I agree. This is the toughest ticket in Alabama sports since I've been following Alabama sports going back to the early 80s, I guess, when I was a little kid. But yeah, this is the toughest ticket. And I think the only thing that comes close is 2011 LSU football, the quote game. That was a really tough ticket. The stadium was full of celebrities.
19 LSU, even though I think 2011 had more celebs because it was the first game of the century. And I don't think people knew what we were watching in 19. If people could go back in time, they'd say, oh, I'd rather have a ticket to that 19 game.
The 19 game was more exciting, and it was actually really just as big. But I think 19 was sort of riding on the coattails of 2011.
That's true.
2011, it was sort of the first. It took 8 more years for it to happen again. But I agree, 2019's knocking on the door. But 2011 was things were a lot newer in terms of Alabama and LSU being that level of good. And boy, there were at any one time, 22 players were on the field, and at any one time, no matter who was on offense or defense, and like 20 of the 22 played in the NFL.
Yeah, outside of Trent Richardson, probably all the stars were on defense.
The big stars.
But now in 19, the stars were Tua Tagovailoa, Joe Burrow.
There's more offense. So that made it more entertaining, I guess.
Jamar Chase.
Fans seem to like more scoring.
Devontae Smith. We're talking about all-pro wide receivers that won the Heisman. We're talking about running backs for LSU that weren't that great, but they got drafted in the first round because you were scared not to draft them. You're talking about a guy that went number 1 in Joe Burrow who won the Heisman. You're talking about Tua Tagovailoa, who was the talk of college football forever. I mean, it was so much. You had Jerry Jeudy, and you had Ruggs. You had everything that you wanted in that game. And
2019 LSU may be one of the best teams to ever play college football, and 2020 Alabama may have been one of the best teams to ever play college football. And obviously, the 2020 Alabama team was largely on the field in 2019. So there you have it.
Yeah, and people say, well, the 19 team in LSU was obviously better because they beat a lot of those same players. I would argue that the one thing about 2020 Alabama, some guys like, for instance, Mac Jones really had a better year than Tua the year before. I mean, not just because Tua got hurt either.
Tua was banged up in that 2019 game. He ran for a long touchdown, but Tua played that 2019 game banged up. That was not 100% Tua Tagovailoa. Maybe it's a different outcome if it is.
So one other guy that got an offer here recently for Alabama and in-state wide receiver in Corey Barber, who plays for Spain Park. He's a good player. All right. I like him a lot. He's an Alabama guy. He says he's an Alabama guy. He really, it certainly makes it seem like
he's going.
If he has the green light, he's committing to Alabama. Now, the one thing about that I'll say is, okay, he's not going to be as highly rated. You look at his offer list, and it says UAB, Mississippi State, Oregon, Miami. What this offer list makes me think when I see those 5 as your offer list, that Bama, Oregon, Miami are like, we're offering you, but just hang on for a second. And UAB and Mississippi State are like, please, God, come here. And I think what's going to happen eventually, because I really do like this kid, is all 3 of those other schools I mentioned will get on 100% on board. And it feels like Alabama will have the leg up. I'm telling you, I've seen this kid play. He's really, really good. Would you say he's, is he Jerry Jeudy coming out of high school? No. But could he have sort of a Lotzier Brooks ascension up the rankings? Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know what the knock is. I mean, when you watch his tape, you're like, what possibly is the knock here on Corey Barber? Because if you have this checklist of what you're looking for in a wide receiver, he seems to check every box. But what people have to realize here about the recruiting process when you're Alabama, this is a full-on gump, which we love. We love the full-on gumps. Me and Luke are full-on gumps. We love that we have that in common with Corey Barber, the only one thing that we do. But you only want, like, let's say 3 wide receivers in this group. That's probably what the ideal number is. I'm picking it out of the air. That's probably true. They probably want 3 wide receivers in this group. You offer Corey Barber, you got to be prepared to forever give one of those 3 spots to him. And you're still recruiting Tristan Keys. You're still recruiting CD, Morgan out of Benjamin Russell. There's other wide receivers, Spafford, this kid from California that's committed to Georgia that we actually have a really good shot with. So when you offer him, you got, this ain't a, hey, let's date. You offer him, you're getting married. So that's why it's like, okay, let's continue to kick the tires a little bit here. But let me tell you, this kid can really play. And when you watch the tape, what I think should stand out to all of you is, what's the knock? I mean, it's not size. It's apparently not speed. He's tremendously productive at the 7A level, playing a 7A schedule in Birmingham. I will also say his young quarterback is outstanding, who's committed to Clemson. And part of the reason he has this highlight tape, I want people, when you watch the highlight tape, you're like, wow, that ball is put right on the numbers. That's helping him a lot. But hey, it's, he's still making the play when the ball gets in his hands. Oh, 2 minutes on one show.
Yeah, I think he's a dude.
It's a 2025 record.
Trying so hard. Like y'all don't understand. Like they throw so much stuff at me, and like I'm not good at this. I mean, it's just
it's been a week, people.
It's been a long week. I've had a lot of stuff going on. I was telling somebody the other day. I mean, this is all personal stuff nobody cares about. But so in January, my father-in-law had a sudden heart attack and passed away. My cousin, they found him passed away in his apartment. My uncle fell down, had brain bleed, just got out of the hospital this past weekend. Our neighbor's dog, who were really close with them, and they've had a dog forever since I've known them, their dog passed away. My wife's sister's dog was run over the other day. I mean, it's like my mom's going through chemo. We've had so much junk going on in January and February that I've just about had enough.
I won't share my list, but I have an extremely similar family massive illness or death thing going on that rivals Luke's. So we're doing this together, pal.
Well, and the most, well, not the most depressing thing, but one of the depressing parts of this is that what you do is you turn around and go, oh, this sort of makes sense that people who I grew up, really close with, like uncles and aunts and father-in-laws or whatever, like they're passing away because, see, I'm old now.
That's
so
weird.
they're going to be really old. And
it's
then you're like,
it's our turn to go through this.
And you're like, I guess I got to be prepared for more of this crap.
Yep.
And then you're like, well, let me go do the podcast.
We'll tell people Locked On people. I wonder if they'll let us openly drink during the show.
They got to one time. If we do the national championship again, I know, look, I know after the Vanderbilt game, I had been drinking. Allegedly. I don't know.
They say they wanted some post-game shows. This is the price they're paying.
It's sort of like what you said about this barber kid that, like, yeah, if you offer him, you're married. I mean, if you get Luke and Jimmy, yeah, they're probably going to be inebriated.
If you want a post-game show, you're going to get one.
All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.